Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Santos on Sports. I'm Paul Santos. That is Chris Santos. Very happy to have you looking in today. And we got a special guest today. We're going to do some good old-fashioned hockey talk, and we got the right guy for that. Here is somebody who played 10 years of professional hockey. He was a head coach at the NHL level 3 times. He's assistant coach many times at the NHL level, and he was the head coach at the AHL level. He's now the assistant coach of the storied franchise, the Hershey Bears. We welcome Mr. Scott Allen. Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm doing outstanding. How about yourself?
Yeah, doing great, doing great. Well, I remember as a kid putting on the radio and hearing the games coming from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and the Hershey Bears, right there, a storied franchise. They have a big following down there. What's it like being an assistant coach down there at Hershey?
It's actually unreal. I work for the Washington Capitals organization. It's the American League team. You just said it. It's a very storied franchise. It's a big show in town. A year and a half ago, when COVID shut everything down, we were getting 10,000 a night in the building. So honestly, it was better than some of the crowds I coached like in front of in the National Hockey League. So it's a great place to be. The Capitals organization is a strong organization to work for, as is the Hershey organization. They do a great job working together, and everything is top notch, first class.
All right, try to get a little. Try to get a little closer. Just get a little closer to your device because your sound is just a little low. Just a little low. All right, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Scott, the last 2 years has been really tough, across the country with the COVID. How's it been for you, obviously with your wife, Tracy, the daughters, Mackenzie and Cameron? How you've been handling it, especially in the hockey sense of it. What's it been like for you specifically in the last couple of years with COVID?
Well, again, it was an unbelievable time. Nobody that's living has ever gone through anything like this. Everybody had problems and issues and challenges, and the hockey world and the sports world in general was no different. When everything broke a year and a half ago, I was in Hershey. They had a meeting right after practice with our team doctor, who actually sits on the COVID board for the state of Pennsylvania, and he wasn't overly concerned at the time. He did think that it was going to be a short-term thing and we'd be back at it. Within a few days, we knew that wasn't the case. They didn't shut the league down right away, but I knew it was shutting down. So I was out in Hershey by myself. We had made our home for 8 out of the last 9 years in Dunlap, Illinois, just outside of Peoria. And I jumped in my truck and drove home knowing that I wasn't going to be back. Now, I didn't think I was going to be gone for as long as I was gone for. So there was a lot of challenges to get this thing going again. Fortunately, we were able to do that in January, got up and got back working. And it was good. It was good for especially our young players to get back on the ice, to get back playing. We only played 3 other teams, so that was a little bit unique. But again, as far as development goes, it's important for these guys to be on the ice, to be skating, be challenging against their peers, and hopefully some guys down the road that they're going to be playing against in the National Hockey League. So with that, my family, my one daughter had graduated college right in the early goings of COVID. My other daughter just completed her sophomore year of college. And it's the first time my wife and I have moved without the kids since they were born. So it's been interesting, but it's another stage in life, and that's what happens. We get old and things change and new challenges come aboard.
It must be difficult doing all that relocating. I'm looking at your career, 10 years as a professional player. And one of the things, hey, it's always fun when you're winning, right? You're on a couple of championship teams, the Riley Cup, right? So that must have been a lot of fun. Hey, I don't care where you're playing. It's always fun when things are going your way and you can win a championship, especially at that level.
No question. And you just said it. Winning is winning at any level, going back. When I was 7 years old, I was the bat boy for Rick's Raiders in Whale Lake City Little League. We won the Little League World Series. In 78, I was a speed champion in skateboarding in New Bedford, Mass by the Park and Recreation Department. Winning is winning. So, yeah, it was certainly a lot of fun winning those championships. Still have special memories. The guys I played with, and again, that was a long time ago now, but there is still a bond with those teammates that you win with.
Scotty, you retired in '96 as a player. Did you realize then, or even before that, or leading up to it, that coaching was going to be your next step, and this is what you wanted to do? And I'm getting out as a player, but I can stay in this game and be contributing as being a coach. And how did that work for you? And who talked to you and said, "Hey, come aboard and let's do this"?
Yeah, 100%. I knew I wanted to coach when I was done playing. I made a decision when I was 19, 20 years old not to go to college. I played junior hockey. I turned pro when I was 20, played in the minors for those next 10 years. And I was actually going to keep on playing. The plan wasn't to stop playing right then, but an opportunity came up. A gentleman named Toby O'Brien, who had recently been named general manager of the Johnstown Chiefs, tracked me down. We hadn't touched base and talked for probably 7 years. We talked for a couple of days. Within that couple of days span, probably within 3 or 4 days, he was offering me a position to go to Johnstown as an assistant coach and director of player personnel. And my initial reaction was I turned him down. And he jumped all over me. He gave me a hard time about turning him down. He told me the mistake that I was making, and he was 100% right. I thought it was going to be an easy transition to be able to find a coaching job when I was done playing. As time has gone on, that is certainly not the case. I don't have any National Hockey League games as a player on my resume, and that certainly helps when you're looking to get into coaching and or management or whatever you're looking to do in the game after the fact. Everybody's got a different path. And I was fortunate. I'm so thankful and grateful for Toby O'Brien for what he did for me and giving me that opportunity. And I just completed my 25th year of coaching pro hockey straight through from the start of the season to the end. That's something I'm certainly proud of. There have been times when I've been unemployed during the off season, but fortunately, I've been able to find jobs, and it's been unreal. I'll tell you, it's been a great run and a great ride.
Well, I'm looking through your resume, and it's a very, very long and impressive resume. You started assistant coaching at the AHL level. They ended up letting the head coach go. You took over. You then improved the team. You had a nice 3-year time period where you coaching the Chiefs all the way into the playoffs, a couple of conference finals appearances and a quarterfinal appearances. And then after that, moved right up to the NHL as assistant coach with Scott Gordon of the New York Islanders. So to become an assistant coach at the AHL level, what happened there? And then to get there onto the NHL bench, right? That's a pretty good jump. I don't care what anybody says. That's a big jump to get to to be behind the bench at the NHL level. How did that happen?
Well, actually, you know what, Paul? My first 6 years, I was actually in the East Coast Hockey League with the Johnstown Chiefs. Very storied franchise again here in Pennsylvania. It's where the movie Slapshot was filmed. So certainly a lot of history there. From there, I moved on to the American Hockey League as an assistant coach and spent a number of years there. The last 5, I was with the Calgary Flames organization. All in the American Hockey League. Actually moved 3 times in the American League with the Flames organization because they moved franchises from Lowell, Mass to Omaha, Nebraska to the Quad Cities, which sits on the Iowa-Illinois border. And then I was fortunate enough that a guy that I used to play against and coach against, Scott Gordon, he and I developed a pretty good relationship. We started talking through his first year with the Islanders. He had called me on a few things system-wise, and again, developed a relationship. He had an opening on his staff, and I was fortunate enough that they brought me into Long Island and talked to me about it, and got the job and spent the next 3 years there. Again, outstanding time, but unfortunately, we were going through a rebuild. It was the first 3 years of John Tavares' career. We had a very young team. And when you're going through a rebuild, you hope to stick around long enough to see the fruits of your labor, because you certainly have some long nights and some disappointments along the way. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Everybody that was there for those 3 years eventually got let go. I was there for a year and a half with Scott Gordon. They made a coaching change. They brought in Jack Capuano. I stayed on his staff for the next year and a half, and then it was time to move on again. At the end of the season, they told me they weren't picking up my offer me another contract, and so I was in search mode again, and fortunately got hired by the St. Louis Blues to coach their minor league team. That's how I ended up in the Peoria, Illinois area.
Well, I know you have a good fan base down here, Scott, in New Bedford in the area, and even when you were with the Islanders, had some people around here take a couple of trips to Long Island to say hello to you and watch that team. I'm sure it was nice to see some of those people that you haven't been in touch with in a little bit. I'm sure your brother went down, and a couple of nephews, and some different fan base from around here. And then, unfortunately, you got let go there. But it's always nice to have some kind of family in the background to say, hey, look who's here, and get a chance to talk with them.
Yeah, no question. You know what? My friends back home, my lifelong friends, my best friends in this world. And I've been all over the world in this game, North America, I should say, and I've certainly met a lot of great people in this game and in this business, and worked with a lot of great people. But certainly my core friends are all back home, and the support I've had through the years it's second to none. I tell you, I don't know anybody else in the hockey world that has the strong family and friend background that I have back there.
And speaking of your nephews, you had one of them that tried to get some into a lot of hockey. You got another one that's with the athletic training in hockey as well. So it's nice to get a little of the bloodlines and the Allen name still around in the AHL and the NHL. So that's great to hear as well. Yeah,
and you know what? I have a third nephew, Peyton, who also played and just completed his freshman year at UMass. And then I have another nephew on my wife's side that lives in Nashville, and he plays also. And I have a niece that actually works in the front office of the Nashville Predators. So it's been unreal. Certainly proud of all my nephews and nieces and what they've done. And hockey's been a big part of their lives the whole way through. And it's exciting. It's fun.
Well, following the Dartmouth High School hockey team, in fact, I've had the pleasure of announcing the games on the local cable over here. So, I saw Garrett play for 4 years. I saw Peyton play just now. In fact, Garrett used to play on the same line as my son, Dylan Santos, and they had a great time because, Garrett was a center and Dylan was going up and down the wing, and they just had a great time playing for Dartmouth High School. And Corey Lavamonier, before that, he was obviously there at Dartmouth High School too. And like you said, like Chris just pointed out, all of them still involved with the game of hockey.
Absolutely. And all three of those guys, including Peyton, they were all captains at one time or another during their stay at Dartmouth High. And, I was not a Dartmouth Indian. I was a New Bedford Whaler. So definitely.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that, Scott. Thanks, Scott. Okay.
Now you played for the Whalers.
I think that's a dig at me, Paul.
Who was there when you were there?
Bruce Barboza and Mark Souza were my line mates. Dave Reese. We had we had a pretty good team. I mean, when I came there as a sophomore, Dean Snell was the premier player in the area. It was his senior year. He played on the line with Kevin Lance and Dave Jaratowski. Brendan McDonald was my goalie, my probably junior and senior year. Just the Lawler brothers, Paul Gogan, Dave Roy. I mean, honestly, it'd probably take me just a minute, but I could probably name Kirk Morgan.
Who's the coach?
Coach John Raleigh.
Oh, wow. You go way back.
Absolutely. Coach Raleigh is a living legend, and what he accomplished in the coaching business in this game is phenomenal.
Yeah, we had him on as a guest.
Yeah, when we talk New Bedford and we talk hockey, the names that come up obviously are Allen, Raleigh, Pothier, some real big names there, whether it's coaching or whether it's playing. It's been truly outstanding. We had Ken Gorvier on as well, who coaches at Stang. We had Raleigh a couple of weeks ago too. So it's been a great group of guys that can really talk, the ins and outs, the X's and O's of hockey, and it's been great for us in this show. It's awesome.
And how sad is it now, though, that unfortunately New Bedford doesn't even have a team anymore?
Right. I know.
That's true. Yep.
Hey, Scott, I wanted to ask you about Mr. Tom Mulligan. Have you crossed paths with Tom Mulligan out in New Bedford? He's right now 2-0. He's the head athletic trainer for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're knocking on the doorstep for Mr. Mulligan to get cup number 3.
Absolutely. And you know what? I watch him at the end of every game. He's on the bench. He's the last guy when those players are coming off. He's giving them a pat on the back as they walk by him. And that was fun for me. My time in the NHL when we played Tampa to, hook up with him for, either a few minutes after the morning skate or before the game or after the game. And, I follow everybody from the area that's moved on and done things, be it sports, business, my loyalty and caring for the people in our area goes back to guys like Andre McCoy and Gary Cathcart and just so many people from the area. So it was a lot of fun for me to see him, and I truly think he's going to be putting a 3rd ring on his finger in the not too distant future here.
Well, I'm sure you've been watching, Scott, the playoffs, and, the Islanders gave themselves a good chance and a good run. Obviously, they came up a little bit short. Last night, I thought was the best chance for Montreal to really sneak that game. I thought they kind of dominated the play. They had a lot of advantages, but Vasilevsky was up to the challenge, and now they're down 2-0. And as you said, Tampa's probably on their way to repeating. But that being said, I'm sure you've been watching. What's kind of changed in your eyes in the NHL since the time you played and beginning coaching to probably now in today's game? Anything come to mind to you that says, wow, it was like this back then and now it's like this right now?
The speed of the game is certainly picked up. I mean, you know what? They had Dave Andreychuk on the NHL Network on the pregame show last night, a couple hours prior to the game, or maybe an hour or so. And they were trying to talk to him because, he was on that 04 Cup team with Tampa. And, they asked him, how would this team right now fare against your team that won it in 04? And he chuckled and he said, well, if the old rules are in effect, we'd have a chance. If they weren't, and what he meant by that is, if they were able to hook and hold and slow guys down, but you can't do that anymore, right? They wanted more speed in the game. They wanted to try to increase the scoring. And actually that didn't increase the scoring because coaches have gotten better with defensive schemes and how everybody has to buy in to play solid defensive hockey. But the speed of the game, and that's the whole thing right there. I mean, back when I was playing, back when I was growing up, it was just a different game. And now these elite players, the things they're able to do, and the reason they're able to do some of the things that they can do is because, you can't get sticks on guys, you can't grab guys, you can't pull a guy's arm off his stick. So that probably is the biggest way the game has changed. And the other thing too, is goaltending. And it's funny because, I've got friends that were goalies. A good friend of mine, Wayne Lima from back home, he calls me, he gets so frustrated every time he sees the goalie. You have a 6'3" goalie go down on his knees and get beat from a shot from 50 feet out. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'll be honest with you, it doesn't make any sense to me, especially when it happens from like the half wall, shots at a bad angle. But that's the way these guys are taught. With that being said, because of how they're taught, because of the size of the goalies and how they block shots, that part of the game has certainly made it more challenging. Goaltending is the biggest area where the game is improved, and it's a lot tougher to score. No disrespect for guys like Mike Bossy and guys like that, but these guys were scoring slap shots on the ice coming across the blue line. if you see that now, it's it's a bad goal, right?
It was funny. It's funny, Scott, you say it, because I play golf with Wayne Lima, and I actually talked to Wayne, and Wayne said, if I wore pads the size of what they wear now, I probably would have never lost. So hey, if he had that equipment, and boy, we had a good chuckle on that one, and it was a lot of fun. He says, "You see what the size of these pads and the size of these guys?" And I go, "Yep, I understand." But yeah, that's what it is in the NHL: speed, and obviously even like Vasilevsky, he's so big and he covers a lot of ground, moves so quick, and that's a big difference, as you said. I totally agree with the speed of the game.
Yeah,
it's a great game this way or the old way. But being an older guy, I used to like it when Guy Lafleur went over the blue line and went to take a shot, and the goalie basically had to go into a split to make a skate save.
yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Like you see the old highlights. The goalie was diving and flopping and stacking the pads and going into splits and everything else. And now they just make the same move every time and cover as much net as possible and go with the percentages.
That's it. I mean, majority of the saves, they call them saves, but they're really not. They're getting hit by pucks because they're
right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I wanted to ask you. You're an NHL assistant coach for the New York Islanders from 2009 to 2012, with the Florida Panthers from 2016 to 2017, and with the Coyotes from 2017 to 2019. That's a long time behind the bench at the NHL level. So two things. Number one, what was that like? And number two, what are some of the players that you were able to coach that are in the National Hockey League at this point?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it was certainly a fun time. But just like we talked about earlier in regards to winning and winning a couple of minor league championships in the East Coast Hockey League, that is fun. Well, on the flip side, losing, I've always been a sore loser, and to this day I'm 55 years old, and that certainly hasn't changed. So, especially being with the Islanders through that time, and it doesn't matter just because you're in the National Hockey League, and don't get me wrong, it's nice to get on a chartered flight after the game and eat good food and stay in nice hotels, but
you still want to win.
Yeah, 100%. The losing certainly wears on you. So that part was tough. The players and the relationships that you develop throughout have been huge for me. I've worked with superstars with all three organizations. Johnny Tavares with the Islanders, Barkov down in Florida, Oliver Ekman-Larsson out in Arizona, and fill in the blanks with all the other guys on those teams. I think I'm probably even more proud of the guys that came out of the East Coast Hockey League that ended up making it to the National Hockey League. First guy that comes to mind is a guy like Jody Shelley, who played for me for parts of 2 seasons down in Johnstown and was able to carve out a very nice National Hockey League career for himself after that. And that's the thing now. That's the thing about being in the American Hockey League. Where these guys are one step away. And you know how drastic their life can change, not only in the present, but in the future also, because the money these guys make in the NHL, it's game changing money. So if a guy gets that opportunity, and it's obviously not about the money, it's about the dream, it's about the opportunity to be in the best league in the world and compete night after night against the best players in the world, and that in itself is a challenge. So it's a lot of fun. It's something that I look forward to every single day. It's something that I challenge myself. It never gets stale for me. It never gets old. Each day is a new challenge in different ways. And that's why I've also enjoyed this organization so much too, because of how they do things. We've had a very strong team here the last couple of years. It's so unfortunate that we've been able to compete in the playoffs, because I honestly think we had a possible, championship team. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that have to happen, right, to win a championship, because I'll be the first to admit, I didn't think the Montreal Canadiens were still going to be playing at this time. And I don't think there's too many people in hockey, that would say that they thought, oh, yeah, they'll be in the final. not a chance. So lots of things can happen and things can change, but just the type of teams we had and the goaltending we had these last 2 years, we had a chance. And again, that's been fun for me. Not only winning, but having guys, hopefully in the not too distant future, get their opportunity to play with Washington, because slowly but surely that Washington Capitals roster is going to be changing, because this past year was the oldest team in the National Hockey League.
Scott, the Islanders, the Panthers, and the Coyotes, the three that you've coached for, what was your specific role? I guess is what they call it. I'm not really sure. Was it like with the defense, with the offense, with the power play? Was it different on each team, or was it the same throughout your career?
The only thing that stayed the same with all three teams was I ran the penalty kill with those three teams. With the Islanders, I worked with the forwards for those 3 years, but ran the penalty kill. Down in Florida, I ran the D and the penalty kill, and same thing in Arizona. I ran the D, worked with the D, and also ran the penalty kill.
Looks like you did a pretty good job looking at my notes here. When you were assistant coaching the Coyotes, it looks like the Coyotes had the best penalty killing percentage in the league one of the years that you were there. So you must have done something right there.
Yeah, we honestly, it was a special year because we were late in December, and we were in the plus as far as being on the penalty kill. We had scored more shorthanded goals than we had given up power play goals that year. Wow. So it was exciting. I mean, our players started getting a lot of press because of it, and it was a complete buy-in. The players that I was fortunate to work with there, they all bought into what we were trying to do. There was a belief system, and it was a lot of fun. And then even in Florida, my 1 year, I think we ended up second that year in the NHL. It was the same thing. We were going to the last game of the season, and you always have a meeting in the morning, and before the meeting, the captain came up to me and he's like, what do we got to do? And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, how many penalties do we have to take and kill off tonight to get to number one? And I said, oh, you better slow down. We're playing Washington. I don't like our chances. We'd have to kill like 7 or 8. And sooner or later, Ovechkin's going to find a way to get one in the back of the net. So, but those 2 years certainly were fun times in regards to the penalty kill and how well those teams were able to perform.
All right, we're coming down to the home stretch over here. A couple people made some comments. Let's see. We have Lorianne Lafleur Alston says she's not related to Guy Lafleur, but she's watching from Florida. And I'm thinking to myself, as soon as I mentioned, going over the blue line and taking a shot, which game comes to mind. Oh, yeah, we do. Too many men on the ice game. So that's a shot that I had like this much space to go in, and it went in. Maria Eugenia Giesta says, very proud of you, Scott. Bobby O'Brien says hello. Rich McHugh says, what's up, Scotty? Brandon Bouchard has a youngster, 12 years old, playing hockey. What advice would you give to kids coming up at this time?
Have fun. First and foremost is got to be the biggest thing. You have to enjoy it. There's no sense in putting a lot of pressure. I mean, it's crazy thinking and crazy talk to a 12-year-old kid, it's nice to have a dream to play in the NHL, but you know what? Enjoy the game. Have fun with the game. One of the coolest things for me when I go home and some of the guys that I played with, and by the way, Rich McHugh is a former teammate of mine. So thanks for the shout out, Rich. But it's so cool when the guys that I played with, that some of them are actually still playing men's league hockey, and they play because they love to play and they enjoy it. And I actually enjoy, popping into the rink when they play to just to watch them and sit down in the locker room and shoot the breeze but that's the biggest thing. Have fun playing first and foremost, and then give it all you got. I mean, that's how you'll be successful in life, and that's what sport is supposed to be for kids anyway. It's supposed to teach some life lessons and help prepare for life and the ups and downs and the different challenges that we face, adversity. It's not always puppies and rainbows, as we all know.
Well, yeah, I mean, trying to make the AHL, the NHL, it's a very, very small minority, Scott, and I know you know that, and it's very difficult. And like you said, at least you're having fun in the game, whether you make it or whether you don't, and you use the skills and you play as for a lifetime, whether you play as an adult later on in a league or you actually made it to somewhere that you wanted to do. So it's great to have a dream and a goal, and you give it your all. But again, having fun is probably one of the biggest things.
Well, we got a shout out. We got a shout out from Lisa Lavamonier, who's watching today. So, gotta say hello to all your New Bedford peeps over here.
Well, hopefully, I'll be seeing all my New Bedford peeps sooner rather than later.
All right, one last question before you go. What's in your future? What would you like to see happen down the road here in your career?
You know what? Like I said, I'm fortunate to be doing this as long as I've been able to do it. Hopefully, can keep doing it for a little while longer. And then if and when the day comes where there's not going to be a job for me, I honestly don't know what I'll do. I won't have any regrets. I won't have any, sourness. I've the last 35 years, 37 because 2 years of junior have been unreal for me. So hopefully that can continue. I'm a one day at a time type of guy. So that's how I take. That's how I'm going to plan on taking it. And I don't look for that next job. I just work hard at the job that I have. And hopefully if something runs out there that people are taking notice, and hopefully I'll be able to get another job.
Paul, the way he looks right now and his motivation, I think he can go another 25, 30 years easily. And, you look at guys like Barry Trotz and some of these elderly coaches, I can see you right in there, Scotty, still doing what you do and what you love to do. And I think that's the key, what you love to do. And that's something you enjoy and you stay with it. Absolutely.
And you know what? And I don't know if the listeners out there know, but Chris Santos was a 2-sport star. And tennis.
Long time ago, Scott. Long time ago.
For all of us.
He's very humble. He never mentions too much about that. He's pretty quiet.
No, nothing like that.
You got to do some digging there. You got to do some.
That stuff you got to find in the archives, Paul. Yeah, that's for another time, another story. This is all about the NHL right now. And Scott, before we let you go, you got Tampa sweeping, or you got Montreal might win a game, 5-6. What do you got?
Initially going into the series, when I was asked, I had Tampa winning in 5 games. Montreal certainly had their opportunities last night, and they didn't play well. They outplayed them, in my opinion. But I still have Tampa in 5. And, one thing I failed to mention, what's fun for me when it gets to this point, when it gets to this stage in the Stanley Cup Final, is that I've been at it so long that every year there are usually ties on both teams. So both backup goalies, Jake Allen and Curtis McElhaney, I was fortunate to coach both those guys in the American Hockey League. I coached Eric Stahl in the American Hockey League, Joel Edmondson in the American Hockey League, Luke Shen, who hasn't dressed yet in this series, but with Tampa. So whoever wins, I'm happy, because it's former players that I was fortunate to coach that not only realizing the dream of playing in the NHL, but the ultimate dream of winning that Stanley Cup. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. And I think our friend Tom Mulligan, the head coach, he might be sipping out of that cup again for the 3rd time.
Yeah, I think he's going to get his 3rd ring. And great for Mully. He's a great guy. He's very well respected throughout the league. And I'm very happy for him also.
Well, Jeffrey, Scott, I know you just moved and you're in Hershey now, and I hope everything goes back to normal for you with the COVID and not playing 3 teams. You're back to the regular schedule, and it's back to what you do best, and that's behind the bench in an ice hockey game.
No, I certainly appreciate it, because you know what that brings also is trips back to Providence, because we're in the same division.
Yep.
And so it's always fun going back there and seeing everybody and getting in the night before and grabbing dinner on Federal Hill there. And Yeah. it's
All right,
good.
Jeffrey and Tiffany says, "What up, Scotty from Acushnet, Massachusetts?" So everybody's jumping in to say hello to
There
our
you
guest
go.
tonight. All right, Scott. Hey, thank you very much for taking a little time out to chat with us back here at home, and we'll definitely keep that in mind next time you guys come into Providence. Chris, we'll have to go over there and have a couple of beers and watch Hershey and Providence go at it.
Sounds good. Good. And again, hello to everybody back home, and looking forward to seeing everybody fairly soon.
Coach extraordinaire Scott Allen has been our guest here on Santos on Sports. For my partner Chris Santos, I'm Paul Santos. We hope to see you next week right here to chat more sports on Santos on Sports. Take care.